More analysis now. Saruhan Hatipoglu, economist and CEO of a risk analysis firm, BERI, joins us back in the studio again. Great to have you here. And as we get towards the end of this year, there's been so much discussion all year long about how the issues in Europe would start to affect some of the bigger countries, and now we're starting to see that with Germany. Are you surprised?
Actually, I am surprised because based on the data that we've been looking at for the past 2 or 3 months, we expected a slowdown in Germany, maybe a quarterly contraction, but we did not expect the central bank today to come up and say the growth forecast has been cut down to 0.4%. It was a shock to everybody in ratings agencies. I talked to colleagues as well. Nobody expected this.
Now, in fairness, the market did not have a significant reaction. Perhaps the U.S. jobs data may have had a part in it, but do you think the central bank was saying that just to be on the more side of caution, perhaps?
I think that played a role, but reducing growth rate from 1.6 to 0.4, I think, is a huge, significant downgrade. So I don't think at the end of the day they had this in mind. Maybe a little cautionary message, but they're looking at some data that we haven't seen yet. I can bet you on that. Okay. First thing Monday morning, I'm going to check some additional data.
Okay, let's try to guess what they're looking at. Germany, for everyone's knowledge here, is a massive exporter, one of the biggest in the world, and we've seen worldwide demand soften a bit, not just for commodities, but for finished goods as well, not just here in the U.S., but China and Europe.
Sure.
Is that having a perhaps more pronounced impact on Germany than we thought?
I believe that's what they looked at. And made this significant downgrade of their economy. But a lot of the data that are coming from Germany are contradictory. We have industrial production that contracted by a large margin, and then factory output is up. Business sentiment is improving, and unemployment numbers are pretty good. So
now I'm really confused.
I am too. We are waiting. It's all about stable trajectory. We have to wait for a couple more months of data and be able to compare whether this is a trend or just a point in time kind of thing.
We saw the U.S. jobs data number, and there's one correlation here. Is all year long we've been talking about how bad things are and how tough things are, but in reality the market's doing just fine, and things are improving, at least publicly. In the media and press we see marginal improvement in the economic data numbers, barring this particular one. And what I'm trying to get to is, why is it that consumers seem so confident about the future when businesses and economists like yourself seem so much more concerned? There's a disconnect there?
Well, there is a disconnect, but I think it's not only the consumers, it's about the investors that are out there that are keeping a high hope, if you will. And I think the reason for that is, Phil, any kind of small good news is exaggerated. Eurozone is not breaking up because Greece is saved. Germany stock market today hit its 5-year high at a time when the central bank downgraded to 0.4%.
What concerns me most about this conversation is you told me you're confused. And if you're confused, I mean, I don't know what us here and our viewers from around the world, I mean, they must be flabbergasted and very confused. What do you see happening in 2013?
2013 is going to be a very bad year. I've said this.
We should end the interview now then, if you're going to keep going with that. Because that's awful news.
It is going to be a bad year.
Why do you think that?
Because Eurozone crisis is nowhere close to being solved. We're looking at a fiscal cliff situation, which I thought would be solved by now. But both parties are taking their time, and this is having a psychological impact on consumers, on economic growth prospects, and 2 big zones are having this problem. 2013 is not looking good at all. Barring emerging markets, though, China, Brazil, I think they're going to come back, Russia as well, but it's not enough.
On behalf of everyone in Europe, I hope you're wrong.